Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Road to Grandmaster series. This is my 5th round recap of my 2nd tournament back. It's an I Am Norm round robin tournament that I'm playing in New York City. And after the first 4 games, I've got 3.5 points. The first 3 rounds were topsy-turvy. Could have lost probably 2 of those 3 games. But I fought and I won them. The 4th game was very smooth, and now this is game number 5. Now, those of you that watch these videos, you'll know that I'm uploading round number 5 now. I'm recording round number 5, even though I've already finished multiple rounds into the future. That's because at my level, we have to play 2 games every single day. You see all those top-level chess players with their big brains and high elos? They play 1 game a day, and not only do they play 1 game a day, they get breaks in the middle of their tournaments. We, over here, we got a battle. So I play multiple 4-hour games every single day. It's very exhausting. And I used to try to make a recap after every round, but I'm focusing on my tournament. So I just want to say thank you for tuning into the recaps, even though you might have already seen the games, because you want to hear my thoughts. I really appreciate it. And I'm blown away that 400,000 of you are tuning in, if not more, are tuning into these recaps of my tournament. So in round number 5, I was playing against Eugene Yu, and I got a lot of lore about Eugene. You know, and this is a weird matchup for me in many ways. First of all, Eugene crossed 2,300 FIDE in the first game of this tournament. Then he lost a little bit, but so now he's a FIDE master. Technically, for this tournament, that's not his title. But you don't always get into a Gotham recap. I don't know the next time I'm even going to play Eugene. The other lore I have about Huge is I would consider him a friend of mine, which is strange because normally I don't play my friends in recaps. I'm playing strangers. We were in Madrid together, and he's a protege of one of my closest friends, I know all his openings because I know what my friend prepares his students with, because my friend and I also discuss many openings. So, you know, Eugene and I had like food together multiple times in Spain, and I was looking forward to this matchup, mostly because I wanted to draw in like 10 minutes. So Eugene played knight f3, and generally, you know, and keep in mind this is the 2nd game of the day, so very tired. He plays knight f3. He likes to play all sorts of things, and in my hotel room about an hour before the game, I was like, if Eugene plays this, which is a very sneaky move order, he's trying to kind of play in English, but then later he's probably going to play d4, so he's trying to commit me into something. I decided that in this position, rather than play e6, which actually gives him the opportunity to then play b3, and b3 would allow him to take on c4 with the pawn, I'm actually just going to take on c4 immediately. Technically, very technically, this is not as accurate as playing e6, but it's basically the same thing. And I'll tell you why. Taking right away forces him really to take back. I mean, okay, he can like check me and then take with the queen, but it's not any advantage. And the thing is that now he really doesn't have a more useful move than playing pawn to d4. I mean, he's got to take the center. He could play knight c3 and for some reason try to play e4 if I allow it, but I won't allow it. So he played d4, and now we are in a Queen's Gambit accepted main line. We are in the classical Queen's Gambit accepted d4, d5, c4. You will look at top-level games, go knight f3, knight f6, e3, e6, bishop c4, a6, castles, and c5. The last game of the candidates that Hikaru needed to beat Gukesh with the white pieces. Gukesh played the Queen's Gambit accepted, and we got the same exact position on the board. Now, I didn't know what Eugene was going to play, but he just so happened to play into something I had reviewed. I said in the beginning of the video, I know his openings, but I mean, I don't know like the deep details. I just know that he likes to play this knight f3, e3 type of stuff. He went knight c3, which allows me to play b5. If he stops me from playing b5, he weakens b4, so I can play like knight c6 and have a nice position. So he went here, I played b5, bishop b3, and here he played this move e4. And I actually, I'm not even joking, was studying this right before the tournament. Like, and sometimes when you play these long events, especially when you know your opponents and you know what color you're playing in these closed events, things you study for certain people appear in other games. And, he played e4. It's a very dangerous gambit. It's trying to basically utilize Black's horrendous development to launch a very powerful attack. There's all sorts of sacrificial lines. I mean, Black can even just lose immediately with, like, rook e6, bishop e7, bishop g5. This is completely lost. So he played e4. I didn't bite. I took on d4, and then I played this move, knight bd7. In the database, the most common move here is knight to c6. I played knight bd7, and I covered this. And, I watch Hikaru's recaps of my games because sometimes I'm looking to see if he says something, insightful for me. It doesn't really, but like there was a moment where I was really confused in Hikaru's recap. He said the move e4 came as a surprise to me, and I was like, but I responded in 2 minutes. Like it wasn't it wasn't a surprise. I mean, I was trying to put my knight into the center. This was as far as I knew in the opening, and I knew that the best move is rook e1, which is also what Hikaru said. Eugene thought for a very long time and played a3, and I like what Hikaru said here. He said, this is unacceptable. And I thought a3 was a pretty bad move. Basically, Eugene played a very forcing line. He played like a gambit line, essentially, and he didn't know the theory, and then he played this move a3, which is just not a good move. Like, you at least have to develop a piece. You can maybe play f3. But he played a3, and the computer here really likes bishop c5, which I don't really understand. But again, I don't have a massive amount of experience in these positions, and I was trying to play a bit fast, so I just targeted this. Actually, the point of knight c5 is that if he goes here, now I can take. And I had calculated I can take with the bishop, and, now he has no sacrifices, which is kind of nice. He plays rook e1, I was going to go queen d5. And I mean, like, before he was sacrificing and mating me, and now he has no pieces. So he can't sacrifice. So knight c5, and Eugene played this move f3. And at this point, up 20 minutes on the clock with the black pieces, I'm thinking, what is Eugene doing? I mean, I get f3, right? I get it. He's trying to blunt my bishop as opposed to split for anything else. And, I'm sort of stuck. Like, my bishop is sort of stuck. But at the same time, hello? Not to mention hello, like I have two very lethal pins potentially here. And here I thought for also about 20 minutes, 14, I was trying to stay up on the clock. And I thought I came up with something that wins on the spot from a distance. Now, that was a bit naive, but Eugene's hesitation in these two very strange moves really confused me, and I thought he was already on the verge of maybe being lost by force. Now, my coach does always say you do have to stop yourself and be like, you have to ask yourself, did your opponent really do anything that bad? And I was like, I think actually, yeah. So I went queen b6, which I thought was logical. I'm setting up this, and I've got this on the way. The computer really likes e5. I also considered this move. It's a very non-standard move. The point is you kick the knight out, and then when you take, the bishop has to take, otherwise you take the bishop, and this just looks really horrible for white. And even with this, the position is like barely better for black. I mean, it's ridiculous. I can like grab his bishop and that's as good as it's gonna get. And I mean, I'm not even better here. So it's just ridiculous that in these queen spawn positions, you could play like a total bozo with white and you're still fine. Now, I'll tell you what I calculated with queen b6. With queen b6, I calculated that Eugene has to play bishop e3 because I'm threatening knight takes, right? If he plays king h1, he loses the game by force because I get this and then e5 and he can resign. So bishop b3 I thought was forced. And here what I had calculated from a distance was the fact that I was going to take on b3. He can't take because of this, so he would take with the queen. I would then play bishop c5, attacking the knight on d4, and threatening to play e5, winning the bishop. So he has to play knight ce2, defending his knight, because the queen on b3 defends the bishop on e3. Now e5 is no longer possible. And I thought there, I can play bishop takes e4, pawn takes, and knight g4, dislodging the bishop, and then going for e5. But I can't do that because the queen on b3 hits f7 with this rook. If you didn't understand any of that, that was the point. I was trying to show off. Anytime somebody draws many arrows like that, it's not designed for you to understand, all right? We're just trying to flex that we're good at calculation. Turns out I was not very good at calculation because this is not a good move. I thought everything that happened in this game was correct, and I was gonna go bishop e4, fe4, knight g4. I thought this was brilliant by me. The point is, I'm gonna take his bishop. When he takes, I play e5. It's even more crazy than that, because if he plays, let's say, rook c1, I can play e5 straight away. And I just thought, I'm winning. This is nuts. I'm gonna at least get the piece back. But what I realized was something really foul, and I realized it in this position. What I realized is that after rook d1, I can't go here, knight g4, because he can play e5, which is disgusting. The point is, I don't want to play e5. He just gives up the pawn. It's such a weird move because it just loses the pawn. But in the time that I take the pawn, he goes here, and then he runs away with the bishop, and now I have nothing. I'm completely lost. So when I realized that didn't work, I was very annoyed, and actually, I shouldn't have played rook d8. I should have castled, and I should have put my rooks where he puts his rooks. Rook d1, rook d8, rook c1, rook c8. I should have done this, and I should have realized I'm not actually playing for anything. I'm not playing for a win. Actually, here, he doesn't have to defend this at all. I mean, I just sort of assumed I'm threatening to take, but he can go here. He can actually play rook c1, which is bananas. Hikaru said if he had played this move, I would have probably lost the game, which is kind of mean. Like, what? That's not nice. But basically, the point is, if I take, he doesn't take, because then I take, which he goes here, e5 here, I have to go here, queen c7, and it almost looks like I'm getting my bishop trapped, or I'm getting hit with this. Knight d7 survives. Rook d1, and in this position, black has to play h5 to bring the rook. Now, if you land me in this position and say black to move and not lose, I mean, I probably will figure this out. Seeing h5 from a distance is not possible. And neither one of us, I mean, he went here. He also thought he needed to defend, and I think he was deciding which rook to put there. So neither one of us was much thinking about rook c1. And then I castled, and he played king h1, which I thought was sensible, but I thought he should probably bring his rook. It was at this point, I had a moment, which I've been having these moments since I've returned to competitive chess. I do tend to overestimate my position, and I do tend to play as if I have a false evaluation in my head. And recently, I've been not doing that. I've been pausing in my games and going, is it really that bad for my opponent? Like, yeah, he played goofy, but at this point in the game, I realized I don't have anything. I have the bishop pair, which traditionally is an advantage, but my bishop is eating rocks, okay? He's a weird kid. The bishop is not doing anything. If anybody's better here, it's probably the guy who's got every piece developed and beautifully coordinated. And I was like, oh, wow, this is really unpleasant. So here, I actually decided I'm going to play a few more moves and see if he has diarrhea, which would be disgusting, but I mean like on the chessboard. But I was ready for a draw. And at this tournament, there's a minimum move rule. You need to play minimum 15 moves before you can agree to a draw. Some tournaments, it's 30. And the reason for that is, like I've been saying, in norm tournaments, in closed tournaments where people have a chance to get a norm, grandmasters and international masters generally they don't care about playing each other. So grandmaster versus grandmaster in the GM norm section, they already are GMs. They don't care, so they just make draws. So we played 17 moves. I mean, we didn't, I've spent an hour, so it's just a very equal position. So he went queen c3. Here I played this move rook c8, and I would just like to show you once again what I calculated here. I calculated that he can play rook c1, and after rook c1, I would play bishop takes d4. He would sacrifice his queen and then take rook c8, which is a check. My bishop is on d4, so I would play rook d8, trying to trade rooks with him. He would play bishop takes my bishop, attacking my queen. My queen needs to continue to defend my rook on d8, so I would play queen d6, defending my rook. He would then play e5, forking my queen and my knight. And I thought that was losing because now my rook and my knight are both under attack, but I have queen d7, and my queen attacks his rook, so he has to take, and then when he takes on d8, I take back, he plays e takes f6, and then I play e5, pinning his bishop to his rook. I saw all of that. So I'm calculating pretty freaking well in this tournament. Let me show that to you. Rook c1, bishop d4, queen c8, bishop c8, rook c8. rook d8 back. If he trades, then I just have a queen for a rook and a bishop once he takes. So he has to go here. Then I play queen here defending this. Then he plays e5, which I thought is just losing for me, but I have this forcing his rook to move. And then here I have this unbelievable move e5, and I'm actually going to win the bishop back because it's pinned to his rook. When I calculated this, I was like, ooh, that's very sneaky. Look at my rook c1. And then he just went here. And I was like, oh, well, you know, I can take, and then he's probably going to take, and then I can't take because my queen is hanging. So I was like, all right, well, we can trade everything. And I thought if anybody's better here, it's him. I'm going to bring my king to the center. You know, he could probably bring his king too. And my bishop's never going to have a future. All right. So, you know, and so what I found a very creative move here. And this game had a lot of these interesting moments. I played this move bishop d4, which I thought was a hilarious move. I'm putting my bishop where it can be taken by 5 different pieces. Literally the most protected square in the position. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But the point is, I have an attack on this. So he could take here, I would take here, he would take here, I would take, which I thought was good for me. The computer is a scumbag and says that actually winning this pawn is bad because he can trap my rook. Which is stupid. And then he has knight c5, and I am either getting back rank mated or I'm losing my bishop. So I wouldn't have taken his pawn, but I thought, you know, and so here's something very interesting happened. I played bishop d4, he played queen b3, which was a nice move. Now my bishop's hanging, so I went back. Had he gone queen c3, I would have repeated the position instantly. Instantly. Like I said, mentally, I was like, all right, I got nothing. I had to admit to myself, I overestimated my position, and I don't have anything. He's actually very solid. Now, to my shock, I went to the bathroom, and I came back, and he took my bishop. The move itself is not bad. It's equal. But it's the decision to spend, like, 30% of his time? I don't know what's 7 divided by 23 or whatever, but, you know, it's a lot. It's a lot of time. It's like, you know, 30%. I don't know. Let's see. What's 7 divided by 23? Huh, yeah, wow. 30.4. You see, kids, this is, and parents, this is why you should let your kids watch this channel. Because I'm not just a chess player. I'm an arithmetic god, okay? Anyway, he took and I took. And at this point, I did what I've been doing in this tournament consistently, and I'm very happy about it, and I would like to share it with all of you. I stepped on the gas. We both have 17 minutes. I'm the better blitz player. No disrespect, huge. I'm 2800 blitz. Like, and I have the psychological advantage in this game. Because I know Eugene a little bit more than I know some of the other players, and I had a feeling he was going to have a lot of negative thoughts about the game because the opening went poorly, and I'm just making moves. And at the end of the day, that's all chess is, all right? It's just making moves. So he went a4. He spent 6 more minutes, and right around here, I started building in confidence. But the position is completely equal. I just knew if I keep enough tension for enough time, I will get a chance. And so I went bishop c6. Now, he has to take. I was shocked he did not take. And then he's got to put his knight on c3 and just trade the pieces off. You know what I mean? But he played a5. At first, I thought a5 was really clever. But then I was like, well, I thought his plan was knight c3, knight a2, knight b4. But the more I thought about that, I was like, bro, even if I let all of that happen, like if I straight up had an aneurysm and the knight teleported here, I'm still better. I just straight up gave white 3 moves in a row, and putting the knight here does not help. That was when I realized, oh, I think he might be losing the thread a little bit. So I played h6. I didn't think too long, just played h6. Made an improving move. I played queen b4. He's down to 5 minutes. The craziest thing about the move queen to b4 is that I can already begin this attack on his pieces, but I just played bishop. I just passed the move back to him. Just passed it back, opened the file, put the rook maybe on the c file. I was coming up with ideas. Of course it's equal. He trades down to 3 minutes, right? So at this point, he's not just playing the best move in his mind. He's trying to kind of kill the game off. But I've got 4 pieces. And I've got the ideas in the position, right? That's the other thing. You need ideas. My ideas include f5. For example, like this is an idea with some nasty like stuff coming over here. Now, his ideas might be infiltration. You know, I had a moment here. I wanted to play knight b8. I really wanted to play knight b8, but it's a bad move because he infiltrates. And I was like, well, I can't do that. So let's go knight c5. 7-3. All of a sudden, I've got double Eugene's time. And finally, he plays knight g4 attacking me, and I played queen g5, eyeing a lot of stuff over here. What he should do here is escape off the back rank, give his king a little bit of breathing room, and just pass the turn back to me. But he played knight c3, and he missed my shot, but he's down to 157. So remember, 30-second bonus every time he makes a move. He missed my outside my outside pawn shot, and now my queen is infiltrating. And now he's got problems because I'm going to attack a lot of stuff. You'll notice, you know, now I have some threats. I didn't know exactly what they were, but I did know that if he trades the queens with me, this is a fork, and I pick up that pawn that he just placed on a5. So this is how, at this level, people beat me in the past. Not anymore, watch your mouth. But this is the way I'm learning you have to beat people down slowly but surely. Just play moves. He goes queen d4, and I jump in, and I've grabbed the pawn, and he can't even attack my knight because he would lose his own knight. And on top of that, I have back rank ideas. Now, at this point, knight d3, I find the only move. I was very happy with this move. This move made a lot of sense to me. I was trying to get rid of his rook, so I was like, what if I just walk over to his rook? Which is what I did. Now, I spent a lot of time. I shouldn't have done that. The reason I spent a lot of time is because I went goblin mode here, and I started calculating a sequence where I can sack two of my pieces, and I was like, am I winning here? Like, that's mate. And then I was like, can I go rook b3? Not exactly, but I couldn't figure out if this was a win for me. I don't think so, though. Right? I was thinking like b4. Can he stop my pawns? It looks like he can't, but he can. Barely, but he can. He can stop them, and then he's going to go here. So I decided to play king f8. He went knight e5, and now it turns out it's not about king e8. The reason I played king e8 is because I thought rook f7 was not possible. Like, I went king e8 because I was like, oh, I'm going to go here in f6, and he has nothing. I should have went b4 straight away. Allowing him to take with check is pretty random, but the point is, then I go here. It's important to protect that pawn. I didn't quite understand that in the low time. I thought attacking the rook this way made way more sense, but I should have done that, and now he's lost because I just go for this pawn, and then I promote. That was not what I was thinking. What I was thinking is, I'm going to win the piece. I'm going to win the knight, and then I'm easily winning. So he went here, and I was like, what? What is he doing? And then I was like, oh, if rook c5, I thought he has knight to d3. At the very least, I was like, wait, he has b4. This is insane. He has b4, so I'm going to lose a piece. So I was like, oh my God, did I throw it? So then I went b4 myself. And he flagged. He lost on time. He lost on time because I think in his mind, he was going to go knight e2, and that's what he told me after the game. But after rook c2, you just lose. You just lose. You have to protect back rank checkmate. And then I just thought about like rook c5, for example, but rook c5 doesn't actually quite work because he has this, which is just, again, I'm trying to win his rook. What I was planning after b4 knight e2, I was going to go rook c5 first. He would go here, and then I would go rook c2, and I thought this was winning. It is, but as it turns out, he could have gone for this. And then, apparently, oh, apologies. Apparently, this is like almost equal, which is kind of insane. Like, he stops my pawn, and he's gonna, I mean, I just mentally checked out. I was like, oh, I'm easily winning b4 and mate. Him too. I won. I won ultimately, and I won purely on psychology and a little bit of willpower. It was equal throughout the game. But as you can see, it's not always just equal. There's a lot of things that go on in these games, especially at my level. What you have to understand is, I think a lot of you do understand this, when you watch this channel, I'm giving you human elements and understanding. This is how real human beings play chess. All those top players, they are incredible, but they are aliens. They are aliens. The things that they see are otherworldly. I'm taking you through real people's emotions, real people's chess abilities, psychology, the dynamic of my opponent, knowing them or not knowing them, sensing their kind of vibe and aura during the game. Huge lost a little bit of aura this game, but it's okay. And I was ready for a draw, but he didn't want the draw. Maybe he felt like, it was a cop-out against the higher rated player. He felt like he told me after the game, he actually told me that he didn't repeat moves because he thought I was going to play on, which is crazy because he thought his position was bad. So just an interesting learning experience, but it doesn't matter. Eugene is starting some, college in August, and he's gonna, he's going to some top university. I'm not gonna tell you guys where he's going, but you'll probably see him running a Forbes top 10 company in like 10 years. So he's got a lot of things going for him, but I managed to get the victory. I now have 4.5 out of 5. Technically, I've already played more games, but as far as this recap is concerned, I have 4.5 out of 5. I am playing incredibly well. I'm back over 2360. I've gained nearly 40 rating points since returning to competitive chess. I'm so happy. And thank you all so much for your continued support. I'll see you for round number 6. Get out of here.